We're live.
Thanks everyone for joining us. This is
Coffee
Chats, which is like our second episode. So congrats for making that happen.
Espresso Americano.
And congrats for tuning in. This entire coffee chat is really designed to impart to you some of the amazing lessons that we have learned from our incredible clients and also from doing our own lead generation and running now millions and millions of dollars on Facebook specifically and working with thousands of clients. So today, I love the topic. The topic is, in essence, 90% process, 10% magic. And Marcus, how did you come up with that, or how did you learn that? And then we can dive into how Donna did 100 deals.
Well, I was doing some research on just the sales process. I mean, it's all psychology. Tony Robbins even says 80% of your results are psychology. So I believe mindset is of utmost important, but more than that, mindset and shifting into process. And we look at Donna Swansea because she's done 100 deals with us, and I'm
over now. Yeah.
Over 100 deals with us. And I'm like, well, why is it that some people struggle? Because in many ways, when we say 10% magic, I even just say 90% of the results are her follow-up or the process of her follow-up. And 10% of it is how we generate leads for her, because you have to be getting new opportunities to be able to take that process and implement them and turn them into clients. Why is it that so many people have this like psychology or mentality that it's all about the leads generated, and it's not really about the process? And that's what's really been a frustrating issue, to see anybody that hasn't accomplished the amount of success they've wanted.
Yeah.
And so I started understanding that it really comes down to, in a lot of these sales trainings, they start with mentality as being the first most important piece, like studying the psychology, understanding the importance of mindset and goal setting, and hold yourself accountable, and these practices that really coordinate and I think really correlate with process. Because if you don't have the proper mindset, you're not going to have the proper process.
Let's talk about process for a minute, because I think for a lot of people, I think some people have almost like a superpower where they see something, they believe it, they adopt it, and they stick to it. And they're very consistent. And I was just listening to a podcast you were sharing on the one thing, and listening to all of the greats like Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes. I mean, they were so congruent in their message.
Yeah.
And here's what I think is really hard, and I fall prey to this too a lot, which is the process can become boring.
Yes.
Right? And I think sometimes we almost want more magic. We want it to be 90% magic and 10% process, right? Versus the other way around. And I think even when we've interviewed a lot of our other top clients, and they have great results, but they don't have Donna's results. And when you hear them, they'll say something like, yeah, I did this bomb video and I converted this lead, and then you'll be chatting to them and they'll say, oh, you're right, I should use that same process again. It works so well for me. It's like as if they got results, which is great, but they haven't necessarily been able to take those results and make a process out of it. And even for Donna, like we worked with Donna, and she put together an entire course of her process.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that have actually completed it,
very small.
It's still only a small percentage of people, right?
Well, here's why I think that's the case, because in a lot of the cases, they were incentivized to cross the line with that course and get into a longer term lead generation partnership. And when you don't invest in something, you're not going to put the time in it.
But what about us though? I mean, even for us, we know the processes and we'll still fall away from them. Like, we know the scripts, we know what to say. And yet over time,
well, it's because we're always looking for the little magic next thing, right? It's always like, ooh, that looks cool. Let me do that. And I think if you're not, like, a lot of it comes down to measuring that process and actually sticking to that process. And I remember something that stuck with me, even with Sydney, who had great success with us, Sydney Waits. She's like, I always give something a red light, green light within 6 months. But you have to stick to that process.
You have to actually put the amount of effort in, otherwise you don't know if it had results.
And you can't do lead generation of this sort, especially through social media, where most of these people, again, with seller leads specifically, where Donna's done 100 plus deals with us over the last, was it 2.5 years? Most of this has come in the last year. Most of this has come
not for her.
Well, I mean, it was the process. The first 6 months wasn't
right. But then after that,
and then it's
she was very consistent on her results.
But the actual beginning of that, like, it wasn't all of a sudden these deals were just coming in. These transactions were coming in the first couple months. There was a dedication that she had. I remember in the beginning.
She bought herself a printer. She scheduled hours in the morning.
Well, that was the key. She was non-negotiable about that time she invested in the process. And I mean on the business, on the on building the systems that really essentially became the course that we laid out for people. And so when people are looking for, I mean, which really is funny to me, people, they get into this. Why wouldn't you invest into a process if we know and if we studied this, and you can go research it out there. I mean, just Google, not this, the numbers, 90% of it is process. Like that's not something that just came out of nowhere. You can study that across all sales industries, not just real estate. It is all coming down to process today because we are bombarded by 1,000 different ways and people telling you this is the way to do it. Well, if it is, then stick to it, measure it, and success will come out of it. But you have to stay consistent with that process. And if you change it up every week or 2 weeks, or if you're not consistent with that follow-up and you think it's something that's going to just happen with 1 or 2 emails that you send out, I would probably recommend going into something like, you know, investing a lot more money into something like Zillow or Trulia or Realtor, where these are leads just coming at you, hopefully pre-qualified, or invest into a program app. But you're not, with social media, with Facebook, with Instagram. But I would say even with those process, even with those leads, I think the agent that wins is still the agent that has systems in place, lots of follow-up touches, lots of ability to add value. But I think this is just a challenge in general, because I feel the same thing in my life, which is, you know, we live in a culture that basically is about quick fixes. I mean, it really is, right? It's about give me, you know, instantaneous gratification of any sort, and building a process is slow, it's painful, it's probably a little bit boring, and you don't, and there's no initial gratification. It's kind of like going to the gym, right? You have to invest long enough in the process to finally see the results that then give you some energy back. That's a good analogy. And then even then, there's lots of ways where you can get derailed. Well, that's a good analogy. So right? if I'm going to the gym and I don't know what that process is, what I'm going to do? You're going to eventually just... No, I'm going to hire a personal trainer. Oh, I see. If you don't know. So for these people that are... Yeah, if you're serious about it. Yeah, if you're serious about generating leads and expanding your sphere of influence and really you want to... I mean, you've got big goals. I mean, I think you got to, first of all, talk about your why, because the why is going to set up what you're going to accomplish in the next 12 months. The why, and like we're talking about the one thing, and if anybody is... For the gym, that's good too. If you have no why. Like what's your why? Why are you there? Like if you're there... If you have no idea why you're there, like, so let's talk about it with your business right here. Why are you here? Why do you want to generate leads in the first place? Because you want to expand your business. You want to grow it. You're looking at, hey, I have a goal this year of setting, I want to double my business. So maybe you did 20 deals last year. This year you want to do 40 transactions. And maybe your 2-year goals, I want to hire an assistant and have a buyer's agent. Your 5-year goals to own your own brokerage and run a big team. Whatever that is, talk about your big why. What is that lifestyle going to look like? That's going to really, I mean, propel you to start saying, okay, what do I need to get there? Because then you can start working on the business today. And if you're going to get there, then you have to figure out how to duplicate yourself, how to scale yourself, how to create systems, how to do the process. It's not just going to happen. You won't be able to just figure this out as you go. I really like that, because I think for people, some people are very consistent. And, you know, John, who works at our company, is like that. Like he can set a goal in his mind and he can just keep going for it. But I think for guys like myself, maybe for you, the moment we forget why we're doing something and the work or the pain of the work becomes more and more apparent, we can start to like detour, find easier ways. There must be an easier way, right? And I think that maybe a simple little takeaway especially for you guys that have goals, is that when you probably initially came in, or when you started a process of learning something new, there was something that you wanted to see in 6 months or a year. Yeah. And your ability to have that written down somewhere that you can remind yourself on that every single day, I think, especially, and I'm thinking about myself, it gives me the enthusiasm and the energy to push through when it gets hard, because there are results on the other side, and what will guide me and motivate me will be the reasons why I'm doing something. And I think the gym is a great analogy. If I just start going to the gym and forgetting why I'm there, and it's getting harder and harder, I'm going to find more and more internal excuses as to why I want to stop going. Yeah. But if I have something like, and that could be even a health related, like it could be, you know, I want to be around for my kids, or I had a bit of a health scare and I need to make some changes. And if you have that in front and center, and you look at that before you go to the gym, and you remind yourself of that after you did the work, and you sort of reinforce while you're doing the work, I really think that can propel, especially people like me. And maybe that's someone like yourself too, where that'll help guide you. And the moment you forget your goals and the pain of the work
starts to really appear, I think that's why people get derailed. And I get it.
I agree. And another thing to talk about is know your strengths, right? And that's why I'm all about these assessments, Strength Finder, Myers-Briggs, understanding like what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, because you're going to have to leverage that, and you're going to want to tap into. And part of that book that I believe everybody should read, and I'm sure a lot of you have, if you have Keller Williams upbringing, is The One Thing. And that's knowing what is that one thing that you can really tap into. There is a skill, there is a strength, there is a passion, there's something that you have that if you tap into that can be the thing that propels you in your business. And that's the thing that you should be working on, and really that showcasing it as you do even in this lead generation. So for example, I find Donna, what she's done really well is her one thing has been that she's a machine when it comes to the dedication on the process part. And she also is consistent with it every single day. She's going to have an initial email that comes out. It's going to have a video link in there that's going to introduce herself. She's going to follow up within the first hour with a CMA and a video. Okay. And then she's got a series of nurturing tools that she'll use above and beyond that. And if you're interested in this, definitely, we'll put the link below so you can look at the course. We've laid out a curriculum. It has modules. It's training. She's a teacher. She was a teacher before she did all this. She was a teacher. So her one thing is actually probably just teaching. She has a passion for it. She's great at it. And it shows. And you know what else her one thing is? And I told her this yesterday, is she has a passion for people. She has a passion for service. She has a passion for giving people value. And that shows through, even in the way she presents herself and what the material she gives to people. She told me yesterday that there's this person who was wanting to sell their house themselves, FSBO. And she gave them all this great information about 6 months ago. And she stayed in contact. She asked questions, even saying, this is how you would do it. This is how I suggest you do it. So she's just giving value, not expecting anything in return. And then 3 days ago, she's like, I can't do this anymore. Because she's so value, right? So much service. I can't do this anymore. I need you to come list my home. Yeah. I mean, and that goes to show, it's like sometimes
give first.
Yes. It's so powerful. But I think that one has to do with her personality. She's tapping into that one thing. But the process, no matter what, never changes. It never derails. Like, she stays consistent. I asked her about, has anything changed over the course of the last 2 years and how you change this module? She's like, you know what, Marcus, I've maybe changed the subject line here and there just to see if I get more opens.
And that's a good reminder even for myself. Sometimes I dramatically make changes in the process versus, I think, a good scientist or a good marketer,
the results aren't consistent.
They make small changes, and they actually test those changes, and you can learn, you get feedback from that, and you can improve. So when you have 2 emails, I think a tendency is like, I don't like this email, I'm going to rewrite a brand new one. Where a better thing to do is just duplicate the email, change the subject line, see which one resonates, pick the winner, and then incrementally improve it. And a great company, as an example for that, is Amazon. If you never will log into Amazon, you'll never log Amazon, and it'll be, unless you haven't been logged in for, like, say, a whole bunch of months or a few years. But as a user that's actively using it, you'll never log in. It'll be vastly different. Yeah. And the reason being is that they don't make changes like that. So many companies, and including ourselves, sometimes we make huge new updates. Right. But they incrementally make updates. And Amazon is an incredible company. I mean, one of the best companies in the world. And I think that's, they incrementally learn from their user base and incrementally make adjustments. And they do it so well that you can't even detect the changes. And they're constantly learning and getting better and better and better.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the one thing I hope that you guys take away from this chat is really delve into your process. Ask yourself, and no matter where you're generating new leads from or whatever that is you're trying to accomplish, ask yourself, have I stayed consistent with that process? And if you have a good job, there's probably a reason why you had success, because you stayed consistent to that process. And if you haven't, look at that process. And if you need help with that process, we're here to help. I have done 12 profile pieces with some of our best agents, learned what their process is. And you know what? Not everyone's going to resonate with Donna. That's cool. I mean, she's only done 100 deals. So, I mean, you may not resonate with that, but there are different ways to do this. There's a million ways to skin the cat, but they're all different processes. You got to find what your one thing is. Emily Chang, for example, her one thing is video. right? Sending video emails, checking in. Jennifer Ivy, who we've been talking about this week, her one thing is like literally taking command and saying, for me to do a home value, I need to do a quick walkthrough of the home. Hey, what time's available for you this week? I have Monday at 3, Tuesday at 2, and Wednesday. She gives 3 days, 3 options, right? And she takes control of that. She checks in 2 weeks later, and then she gets them into a system, and she stays consistent on dripping value with them. I mean, so it all comes down to what your process is and and she does have an admin. So figure out what your one thing is. You'll probably define that as you go, and the more success you get, the more that process maybe you can start adding in certain elements as well. But that process has to be consistent in the beginning. And if you need help, I do recommend the greatest investment you'll make is into a process like Donna's, and then stay consistent with it. If you guys have, a lot of you I know who's listening or tuning in, a lot of you have invested into a course and have access to a course. I would say start from the beginning. This is what Donna said strictly to me yesterday. She said, take 2 days, put everything on hold, and go through the process. Implement it, make it your own. You have to do it verbatim, but take what the gems out of there. Use your personality, because that's you they're going to be identifying with. And if you do that, I promise you'll definitely get results, because nothing has changed for Donna. Over 2 years, we're running the same type of ad campaigns. They are consistently producing new opportunities to have relationships. And that's the key, is you guys, every single one of those emails can be verified. Every single one of those emails on the opposite end, you got to think of someone's opening that. What are they going to read? What are they going to see to compel them to start a dialogue with you? If they see there's authenticity there, if they see it's someone who generally wants to help and serve and is asking really key questions, and then consistently follows up with great content after that, it's just a matter of time. It really is. So you got to look at it this way. It's not, these relationships don't always form in the first 2 or 3 attempts. So that's why you need a process. So that's why you need a system. And we're to help you figure that out and show you multiple examples of how to do that.
Yeah, so thanks so much for joining us. Your feedback is obviously super valuable. If you enjoyed this, if you like content like this, just comment below. We'd really appreciate that. And otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you at the next coffee chat.